Welcome to the Standing Stone Podcast. I'm Ethan, joined today by Charles, and we're going to be talking hunt tests. It is that time of year. In the spring, we spend a lot of time working on both AKC Hunt Tests and utility tests, and there's a lot of questions around it. How the process works, what do we do from week to week, how do we help dogs to be successful, how do you even find how to enter the tests themselves? We're going to deep dive into AKC Hunt Tests, as well as cover this last weekend, who ran, how they did, and then what is the plan moving forward. So it should be a fun little conversation to unpack. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
All right. So to start with, I want to just break down a couple things for the folks that don't know. AKC Hunt Tests, there are multiple levels. You have junior, senior, master. You were running this weekend just master, but we do have a couple dogs that are, one dog specifically that's running senior.
Yep.
Okay. So let's cover this really quick. I am on AKC's website. This is the Find an Event. So this is their homepage. You should be able to see this here. At the event search portion, it's at the top of the middle until they change their website, which could happen any day. It seems it's a running joke. As soon as you figure out where everything's at on AKC's website, they change it again. So
exactly.
Event search at the top. You can pull up, it's loading, the individual states that you want to be looking in, and then you can look for a specific club if you want to, confirmation events, companion events, or performance events, and then down to, I'm not seeing it.
Should be under hunt tests and then
There it is.
Pointing dog.
Hunting tests right here, and then pointing breeds, and then select your states. Let's go.
That pointing dog thing's easy to miss.
Yeah, it was hiding up there because it looked like it, because there's multiple sections. So
I've clicked all the states and then click find event a million times, and I'm like, why won't you do it?
why won't you find? And then our retrieve events. So we'll do this. We're going to talk about it at the end, and we'll come back to it. But where is the next event? Here it is. You can find right here, hunt test. Oops. Let's go allow while we're visiting. There you go, AKC. Saturday, April 19th. It shows the Vizsla Club and the Weimaraner Club. So this is where you can find things. If you are interested in entering your dog, it tells complete details here when this populates, what the cost is, who the judges are, where the event's at, and it gives you all of this information, including your club info, getting maps, all of it right here. That's how you're going to find the events themselves. So if you are looking, go there. Perf dog is a really good way to enter. You can also enter manually. And there was some up in the air stuff in regards to perf dog, and it sounds like it's going to continue. So we may show that here yet.
Yeah. The way I like,
time.
perf dog will hold your dogs, and it makes it a little faster. Entering on this way, you get a process down, but it is still
if you have one dog,
it's not bad at all. If you have 6 entries to do, and they're owned, some are owned by you are the primary owner, some cat's the primary owner. It's a lot.
Some we co-own with Lane. It gets to be a fair amount of paperwork.
Yeah.
Because you also have to have each dog's parents and some other. I mean, there's a lot of information that goes in it, so that they make sure that they're giving the credit to the right dog, essentially, right?
And they also it depends on some of the AKC clubs will actually have, like, if the dog's a champion or already a senior hunter, or sometimes I've gotten running orders or premiums where they've listed the parents, so you can see, oh, that dog's running and both of its parents are master hunters. I think that's part of why I don't see that as much anymore, but that used to be.
Sounds like a lot of extra.
I'm guessing it. I don't know on the backside. Yeah, I don't know. Some of those clubs, they like to know that stuff.
Absolutely. So that's some of the basics. The different levels we've talked about in a lot of different things, conversations briefly. Junior, the lowest level, you have to point and kind of run around and have fun. It's a really good entry event to go to. Senior, they have a little more expectation. You can handle them into backs. They can break at shot. And then they have to do a pretty good job retrieving. And then the master level, they are expected to be holding a fairly high standard. And by fairly high, I mean almost unrealistically high at times, it seems like. They have to stand steady wing shot and fall. They have to honor on their own. They have to retrieve to hand. And they have to do this with every bird contact that happens, whether it be 1 or 14.
Yep.
If there is no bird that is pointed, they don't qualify. If they do find and point a bird, they have the opportunity for set up scenarios that are called callbacks. And callbacks are also available in senior, depending on the situation as well. But ultimately, we strive for the master test. If we have a dog that is on the edge in one category, which is typically maybe they struggle a smidgen with backing.
Almost always. We don't really have any other.
Otherwise, we're going to train for the highest level and try and excel there.
And we even still maintain that level. So even if we are running a senior dog, they're expected to be steady wing shot fall, all of that through that. They're just being able to be handled into their backs. Yeah. Because if you woe them into a back and a master, you're picked up. So
correct. And that's what I would recommend for anybody that's trying. If you truly run at the levels, and I don't know if this was by design, I doubt that it was, but maybe they're that smart. If you run the events at the true, you're just scratching the surface of can meet the standard, and you run all of the levels, it's going to create a problem as you continue to move on, because you're going to have a minimal level of handle on the dog, and they're going to become test smart.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to that master level where the expectations are high, the standards are higher, and you have a dog that knows that they can get away with things and what they can kind of push the envelope on test day when the horses are out, the people are here, and it's kind of, you can tell dad's, mom's heart's beating a little more and they're a little nervous as they, all of those pieces play in, and dogs are smart. They understand situations and events. So all of that being said, it's hunt test time of year. Usually for us, that starts a little bit earlier. It's this like March, April, kind of cruising into May category. And then the NAVDA stuff overlaps just a little bit, where it's like more May, June, and then August timeframe, where it's warm enough for the larger amount of water work on average.
And I would say that the ranch allows that to happen earlier for us probably than it would, because I'm able to work them quite a bit down there when it's 75 degrees, 80 degrees, and come back up here. And they have a really good foundation that then if I need to get them in, run an end of April, beginning of May, a lot of times, like right now, the water's pretty cold still, but the dogs that understand what they're doing don't mind it at all.
So I've screwed this up a lot of times and keep calling it the San Antonio chapter, but the Alamo chapter is based out of San Antonio.
Yep.
Ish.
Yeah.
General area. And they have now the last 2 years hosted a test at the ranch, approximately the first week in March, first weekend in March, approximately.
Yep.
So it's kind of a cool opportunity for anybody that is in the South. Not only would you get the opportunity to see a little bit about what we're doing with the El Tesoro program on their ranch, but it is an early opportunity to get dogs around where the weather would be nice. Yep. So let's go ahead and jump into this past weekend. So we're running hunt tests, and who got the opportunity to run?
So it was kind of, it was a busy hunt test. So it's a double. There are, which means every dog can run twice a day. I don't know if we've explained that, but
we haven't. So there is a double event. That means you run, there's also single events, but most commonly a club, which is only allowed to host one event per day, which I think has now been changed. Originally, it was 100%, one event per club per day. And then you couldn't compete with other clubs within a certain distance unless you brought the two tests together. So you have a single, that's one event run by a single club.
You run master. If you have one master dog, you run master one time and then you're done for the day.
And I have been to events where they have been 2 singles and 2 separate clubs have run 2 single events on 2 separate days.
Yeah.
And that's even more paperwork. But the ones that we try and get to, we refer to as, they're called double doubles, meaning 2 clubs come together so that you get 2 opportunities per day. We're getting 4 chances. And we didn't even go into this. You need multiple passes in order to be titled. So it's 4, if you follow their program, it's 4, 5, it's 4, 4, and 5 if you have the leading up titles. And if you jump levels like we typically do, you need 1 extra pass at those levels. So it would be 5 in senior and then 6 in master.
Yep.
But if you can get 4 in a weekend, that'd be, really cool. So we go to these double opportunities because most of the time the dogs are very well prepared and it's just a matter of sorting through enough events that they can handle all that's thrown at them. So
this particular test was very full. There are there's quite a few people around us that run AKC professionally, so they're always entering lots of dogs. So we ended up with an odd amount of entries. So Hazel, Shock, Doc, and East and Splash were all sent. We sent entries in for them.
So
Splash came into heat.
These are the total crew of dogs that we have to test this spring, early summer.
Splash came into heat. Almost no clubs will let a dog run in heat. I think the
Very
official
few.
rule for AKC is you can't, but some clubs will still do it. So basically you have to reach out to the club. Can she run or not? Sometimes they'll say, yeah, she can run last race of the day. And you look at the running order and she would run 1 time. Well, is it worth taking an in-heat dog with all the stuff going on to run once? Probably not.
Usually not.
Usually not. So she was scratched. They also said no. She just couldn't run at all. So that made that part easy.
There's, I have only been to, I know there's more than one, but I've only been to one that I did, in fact, bring a dog in heat. And the other side of it, though, as much as we do train and we do kind of expect like our boys run with dogs that are in season, in training, so that we can watch, maintain, and help them to realize, this is work time, not sniff and chase tail time. So
they don't even really have a problem in the building with.
No, they don't.
I mean, we keep them separate, obviously, but it's just never. It's not really a thing that we have to necessarily worry about, but it's just a matter of.
But I still wouldn't personally say, like, let's throw Splash in the trailer with the 2 boys that are stud dogs and say, y'all need to just get over this for the weekend. You're going to ride and be stir crazy in the trailer or in the truck. You're sharing spaces and you're worked up all weekend. And now I want you to do your best as well. So it's not a best policy for any. The time that I did run a dog that was in season in the last brace of the day situation, I only had 2 girls that I was at that time campaigning. So I took the 2 girls. It didn't matter. So
and some clubs have, I mean, I've had them accommodate where that they'll actually finish out the whole day of running. And at the end of the day, you'll run, like maybe if masters were first, they'll let you run after juniors, but it's very, very rare. Almost all the clubs say no. And this club said no, which is fine.
It's a lot to work around. Yeah. Especially if you ended up with more than one, it would be, more than 2, because then you'd have 2 braces. It'd just be a lot.
It's a lot of, there's enough going on with all this entries that happen. So, ended up being that Hazel got in for 3 runs. I don't know how this happens. It was explained to me that some volunteers were running and that some people only entered on Saturday. So it just, however the entries come in is how it's. So the earlier you send your entries in, the more likely you are to get entered.
And they have a maximum number of dogs in a formula that they can run in a day. And they try and get, like a master brace is longer than a junior brace. So it's a lot to organize, but it's a formula they put together. We can run X number of each of these categories.
Yeah. In theory, the whole test could be master, but it never is.
Yeah, it's correct.
So Hazel got in 3 times. Doc got in twice. So he ran once each day, and then East got to run once. So that was the order of that was the dogs that got into this test.
And Shot got the short end of the stick, and Splash got pulled because she was in heat. So that's the 5 of them.
Yep.
For some reason, my math said 6, but 5. Yes.
Legacy's trying.
She's getting closer. Yeah. It's also the heat side of things is why it's kind of harder to get some of the females titled.
That's why Hazel's running this year is because she came into heat last year, right? When she was hitting her stride. She was like, she went 3 in a row, came into heat.
Yeah. So it's a thing that we do fight on a regular basis. And I think that Hazel's getting ready to come into heat again, which is why it's right in that zone, which means, what are we going to get this done? We have to push because we can't, there's maybe like one opportunity within a reasonable driving distance that was before what you just ran.
Right.
And so it would be, there's also events that happen in August. We may have to drive up to Minnesota or something like that leading up to.
If Hazel comes in, Hazel gets through this, if she doesn't come in, runs this next weekend, needs a pass or something. She, it's like, let's just get it done. I looked into trying to get it done in Texas too, but had some life events that prevented that. So.
Yeah, it is.
And I can't count on that. I mean, the priority down there is guiding and hunting. I can't count on being able to hunt test down there.
So how many ribbons we get?
We got 3. They each got a pass, which sounds like not that. I mean, Mr. East is 100%. So
that's good.
It's good. And it was Doc's first foray into AKC. It is different. There's handlers on 4-wheelers, judges on 4-wheelers. There's this particular event did not have horses. It is a back course.
I like horses.
Which you want to explain back course and bird field because it's handled a little different.
We can run through that. There's a couple different ways that the test can be set up. You can have what's called a continuous course. That would be more similar for the folks that it would be more similar to the way that a NAVDA event is set up. You have gunners that walk with you the entire time, and you are actively shooting birds throughout the course. A more common thing that you see in AKC Hunt Test, and I think it comes down to the volume probably. There are only 6 field braces in a utility day maximum for those gunners to walk, and there may be 10 plus.
Yeah, with senior and master, there could be 12. I mean, there could be a lot of braces.
Lots of extra. The timing is about the same, so the distance walked would be approximate. I've seen gunners rotate in on a continuous course event like that they switched gunners every brace so that they got a break. Otherwise, they're walking every single brace the whole time.
Yep.
The back course bird field, which is more common, you only have approximately a 5-acre zone typically placed at the end, though it can be placed anywhere in the event. You could start in the bird field. It can be in the middle, but they run like a loop back to where you start approximately. And usually the bird field is at the tail end of that.
Yep.
You are required to be in the bird field for a minimum of 8 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever is decided. It has to be the same for every dog, but I believe the rules say it's a minimum of 8 minutes.
It was 8 this weekend.
8 is hard and easy or at the same time.
Yeah, it plays into some of my decisions.
Because you have to find a bird. So this is a game. Part of this is a game, and playing, it's like a chess game, right? You've got to find your bird and keep your dog out of trouble. Ultimately, that's the best. Now, granted, you can go out there with the approach of, I'm going to find all of the birds in this field and show off. But every time your dog has to handle a bird, it's just one more opportunity to fail, right? So,
don't chase perfection.
Nah, I don't know. Just don't be silly. If your goal is to finish the dog, it's a hard enough test as it is.
Right.
So I think at one point in time, and I don't know, I don't have updated statistics on this, but at one point in time, I heard, might have been at a judges event type of, those are called seminars or whatever they are.
Yeah. I think judges workshop and NAVDA and seminar and AKC.
Judges seminar or something. They said it's like 13% or 10%, somewhere in that. It's like not very many of dogs that enter and run a master event, finish their dog as a title dog.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking the entire organization, everybody that plays the game. Let's go less than 13%. But there may be a new statistic now. This is a little while ago, but still That's crazy.
Yeah. A lot of people do not.
Roughly
finish.
10% of the people that attempt even finish. So it's a hard test. Don't try and make it harder on yourself.
Right. So it's important. So but that also plays into Doc. It was his first time with the back course, so anything that he finds is blanked. That's not something that, I mean, he done it in training.
Fire a blank pistol. Pow, there was gunfire. The dog has to handle steady, do wing shot, and no fall in this case, and then they have to leave that flyaway bird that was a quote unquote, it could be viewed as a safety or a back course bird, whatever. It's not shot. We have to leave that bird and continue the course.
They cannot chase it.
It's a
delayed chase.
It is considered delayed chase.
And so while Doc is a utility prize 1 dog, so he's had some testing experience, it is a different handling with all of the things going on. So these were kind of their debut weekends.
Did they use quail at the event?
Yep.
Okay. So you can use any game bird at any of these events. Most AKC tests are quail. Most NAVDA tests are chucker.
Yep.
And but even if they find you do the test on a hunting preserve or something, and there's an extra pheasant out there, they have to handle that the same as they do anything else. So we even ran into, at one event, I ran into woodcock or rail or some form of woodcockery.
Yeah.
That the somebody might have been Maggie pointed, and it flew off, and they were like, was that a woodcock?
Yeah.
I think so. And they're like, well, she handled it well. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, and pheasants are the hardest because they're kind of
the fun bird for them.
Yeah, the ditch chickens. We hunt them a little different. That's hood rat stuff, as Lane would put it. So
yeah. So it was their debut weekend. So I was very happy with how everybody handled. I obviously would have liked everybody to pass every test. Part of the handling strategy for them was to almost lay the groundwork this weekend. Was if things need to happen, if handle needs to happen, if things need to happen, that I went in understanding I was going to have that happen. And that is to try to set the stage for all the other future events that we have coming up bit.
You say things need to happen. I know what you're saying, but let's go ahead and break that down.
Yep.
So, basically at the event, there's minimal handle at the master. All of these dogs are on master. So there's minimal handle allowed. You can talk to your dog
Cautiously.
Yes. And if it becomes excessive, if you have to holler whoa to stop them because they're doing something they're not supposed to, or you have to, really it comes down to if you have to harshly correct them for something they should have done on their own.
Right.
And what our approach would be, let's not see if they can squeak by, meaning, because the whole thing is left to interpretation. Were they steady? Were they not?
Right.
Did they move like a couple little baby steps and barely made forward progress? And that judge was like, yeah, that was steady. You didn't say anything. They handled it well. But when they get away with little things,
it turns into much bigger.
It turns into much bigger. So we utilize these events as, especially the first opportunities. Anytime there is something that needs handled, it's on the edge, it's questionable, they get handled for it, period.
Yep.
And it prevents this learning. It's not like, oh, well, I squeaked by with this one this weekend and that'll cost you 2 or 3 in a row then.
And especially like in Hazel's case, she's going to run, a lot of times they run 4 times in a weekend. She was only running 3. Sure. She took a very big hop in her callback in a very, very hard situation where they may have been okay with the hop that she did, but I wasn't going to let that then have to fall into the next couple of days where, I got away with that hop and they killed the bird. And now I ran over here and got it. And they love birds. So that's the ultimate reward for them in the testing situation. And so one of her not passes is I handled her to attempt to get through the rest of the season. Basically, I took the active choice to not get a pass to make the rest of the test easier.
Well, let's go ahead and
I
break
also
down.
Didn't know. They may have picked me up anyway, and then I could have handled and used that opportunity because it was a pretty egregious hop. So
yeah, the biggest thing when you kind of read through the rule book, it says steady to wing shot and fall. They are allowed, and this is the thing. The judges there. Here's I don't want to say Ethan's brutally honest comment, but we're close. It's early in the morning. So my least favorite part about people that run these events is the woe is me, I got screwed because of X, Y, and Z. Ultimately, if your dog meets the criteria, does all of the things, checks all of the boxes, there's a very small, almost non-existent chance that they can't pass. It's when there's questionable stuff that happens.
Yep.
And it falls into the quote unquote gray area or interpretation zone of the judge, who's a volunteer, by the way, who is there because he or she loves dogs and bird dogs and the event and wanted to donate their time to help these things exist. Okay?
Speaking from experience.
Yeah. Nobody wants the dogs to fail, but they do want to uphold the standard the way that they understand it. So that being said, what we're talking about is this hop. The dogs can't make forward progress. That's usually where the line is drawn, unless that forward progress is required to help them mark a bird and at the same time not excessive. So it's all of these pieces, and there's a lot of interpretation there. Yep. The bird falls over a bush or around a thing or something, and they make a side hop or a little hop with forward progress to kind of see around something. There's a lot of judges that are going to go, if you don't have to handle, that's the key there. If you woe them, now I can't judge, did the dog stand steady or is the dog just listening to you? But if they hop and they moved and they can see it, yep, they look like they're steady, let's move on. And from a judging standpoint, a lot of times I will look at that and go, the next one's going to be worse, or that truly was just for marking. And if it's a clear, open, easy situation, they are going to just stand there.
Right.
So we give an opportunity. I give that opportunity. I know that you are the same way. Like, let's see how this plays out. But it's in this situation, she took a hop. It could have gone either way. Probably would have gone not in her favor.
She had a little movement pre-bird flushing. It was just not all around. It was not
optimal.
It was just, it needed to happen.
Absolutely.
She needed to be stopped. And I actually didn't even know if the bird was shot. I just wasn't going to let her get to it, and I wanted to handle her. So
part of what I wanted to do today, though, is break down each of the dogs. You've got, technically, we have 6 total runs to talk through.
Yep.
Let's get Cliff Note versions and go through. Hazel on the first day.
Was the only, or no, I ran,
she got run twice or once on the first
one
day?
time.
So you got Doc and Hazel once on the first day. Okay.
Yep.
So first day, she was in a callback. So obviously some stuff good happened in the field.
Yep. So I figured out pretty quick we were going to do 2 things. I figured out very quick on Hazel's run is that we were 8 minutes in the bird field and that we were going to handle a back course in a way that was basically virtually impossible to not find a bird.
Okay.
Somebody was going to find at least a bird. The way this back course was set up, it was too tight. It just, they were putting the bird down for every dog.
A lot of times a term like keyhole would be used in dog training, and in retriever side of things, it's a small, like a keyhole just in general would be a small area that things are kind of forced to or expected to run through. In retrievers, they utilize that from specific structures that the dogs are supposed to go between. So
or avoid like going up on a hill or.
Yeah. It's designed to have specific direction. We want you to go right here, and we have visual barriers that you have to do this. In the hunt test situations, a lot of times they'll put keyhole type zones just by nature of what the back course is, the area that you have to work. You've got to cross a little body of water, and this is the crossing point or something. And there's typically a bird real close to that keyhole zone. So you kind of learn quickly, and it often gets replanted, and you get to every brace you run through, you get to run the gauntlet through the very tight quarters.
And in this case, it was a pear tree row that you were not going to walk through into a 1 acre grass field with a huge ditch. And you basically had to do a circle in it. There was no other way to walk in or out of it. you had to do a circle in this 1 acre field, and there was at least one quail in the field.
And you put some good bird dogs down. I mean, they're going to find it. You can't.
There was no way around it.
Absolutely.
It was one of the things that I figured out with Hazel's run. We were going to work that bird, and it was the same the next day too. So, but we worked, she ended up actually having an honor in there because, again, so tight, you can't get out of there.
Now, one thing about the master test, this is just a handling tip. Here you go. Pro tip for handling master hunters. If you can avoid backs in the back course, do it.
Do it. They don't anything.
They don't count for you. They only count against you. And that may seem odd, but in order for your dog to receive a qualifying honoring score, they have to honor through a retrieve. Now, there may be some level interpretation to that, depending on where you're at. If the dog
performance can sometimes,
if the dog that's supposed to be retrieving that you're honoring breaks and chases a bird down and catches it, and all of this chaos happens and things like that, that would be probably, honestly, more difficult than just a setup perfect scenario of a bird gets shot, a dog runs and gets it and comes back. So sometimes you will get credit for that. Not always. Sometimes it's read to the letter through a retrieve, but there are no retrieves in the back course. So you do not get scored on a honor in the back course. If you can avoid them, do it.
Right. And in this case, I mean, yeah, we couldn't. It was just too small, too tight, and there's no other way to get out of there. You just had to handle through it. So, which Hazel's great. So it was good. She handled everything fine. She ended up having a bird course find that was missed. And then she had a second find that was also missed. And so we went into, the end of the
two bird field finds.
Yep.
Okay.
So with gunners, but they were just missed.
Sorry, you said bird course.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Bird field.
Yep.
Sorry.
Bird field. So
back course, bird field together.
Absolutely. The area that we are shooting birds, it's usually marked out with flags. You've got to spend the 8 minutes in there. She found 2 birds. Neither of them were shot.
Correct.
So at this point, she has not gotten an honoring opportunity through a retrieve.
Correct.
She needs a callback for a retrieve.
Yep.
And an honor.
Yep. And so we did our callback for retrieve first. She went in, pointed her bird. We did our callback for honor first. She came in. It was, we were running with Brittany, came in, absolutely crushed her back. She looks like $1 million when she backs.
Good.
Stood everything great. No problem. Like sweet. And then it was her turn to do a retrieve and have her brace mate come in and back. And, she ended up in the very, very close area of where she had a find. So she was back to, they don't forget. They might behave, but they don't forget. So hunting her back through there for her honor or her bird to point to be shot for her to retrieve in her callback.
Did they put the bird in basically the same spot for
Correct.
Yeah.
It was within 10 feet.
So here's pro tip number 2, which these are best case scenarios. They're not always an option even. But if you have a callback for both, pointing the bird first, generally speaking, sets you up for a better situation because they didn't just have to stand and watch another dog point a bird and retrieve a bird in that zone. They come back because these callbacks are setups. You have to train for them and plan for them because they're not natural, but it is, it's a unnecessary evil, if you will. It's a necessary evil, excuse me. But what I have found is that dogs that have to honor first typically crowd the bird that they have to then come in and point, and it makes it more difficult. Like they're going in there for that retrieve that they just saw to make sure. And then it's like, oh crap, there is a live bird here.
Or, hey, you're going to let me go over here and smell where I just saw a bird come out like that. You're going to let me go over here. All right. And then they may not, I don't want to say respect, but they handle it differently when they've just seen a bird come out of a spot and you bring them back around to it.
Yep. So if the question's ever asked, you want to honor first or you want to point your bird first? I would like to retrieve first. Thank you. Yep.
So she ends up crowding her bird, and her brace mate, who actually finished that morning, ended up not backing and stealing point. So it just was a very tight situation. And they left her brace mate there, and I flushed the bird, and the bird took a hard right behind me, and she took a big hop. And she'd had a little bit of movement while I was trying to get this bird out from under her nose.
Yep.
So we were already kind of on the edge, and looseness generally doesn't get better. Mm-hmm. And so
objects in motion, Newton's first law,
tend
right?
to stay in motion.
Yeah.
So she
is that first law?
I don't know.
One of them.
It's a saying. So she took a big hop, and I just stopped her and said, we're gonna take this one for tomorrow. We're gonna run twice tomorrow. And she took a big hop, and because they shot at the bird, and that's when she took the hop. I didn't know if they shot it or not, and I did not want her to get that retrieve at all if I could help it. So handled her, stopped her. Thank you, judges, and go get ready for my next one.
Had to handle too much movement, all the things. It's part of it. It's tough situations, and then what we do from here on out is add into the repertoire. We train for callbacks, and we maybe provide a naughty dog to put pressure on the situation. And I mean, all of the things that have caused me to fail over the years are things that we incorporate into training on the weekly, prepping for the events, especially if it's an individual dog's weakness. So, but Doc ran.
So again, I know 8 minutes in the bird field, which is pretty tight. It's not that big of a bird field.
It seems like a reasonable amount of time, but
until you're in it,
and you have your 5 minutes in and you haven't found a bird
and
yet.
You have another dog. If you're solo, 8 minutes in the bird field, you're like,
we'll just cover the whole thing,
but you have another dog who
could out hunt you.
And if nobody has a find and they're a good handler, they are trying to out hunt you.
Yes. And why this is an issue is they may only put, depending on the event, 2 to maybe 4 at the max. Usually it's only 2 birds.
I think this one was 3, just judging by how the field went.
So they're putting 2 to 4 birds in the field. And if you go one direction in the bird course and the other dog goes the other way, and they happen to have the wind advantage or whatever it is, and they find the 2 birds, and then your bird, the third bird or whatever that's there, maybe got flighty and flew out or, something. The birds have to be inside the zone. So even if they just are outside of the bird field, you get called back into it. You have to be in that marked zone.
And you got to go handle that bird and blanket and move on.
The other side of it, I think, is from an insurance purpose. They're only insuring gunning to happen in this small area, which minimizes the,
cost. I've heard that too, but I'm not sure. So knowing my time and knowing everything, and knowing that I'm not going to be able to avoid this back course bird or 2, I handled Doc into it. I just said, let me put you in the best position to get this bird. We will get the bird. We will have a find. We will be eligible for a callback. It was getting hotter in the day, end of the day. Birds are walking off more. So I just said, let's just do it. I can't get you out of it. So if I can't get you away from it, let's do it the best way possible. We went in. He found his bird, blanked it. He handled it no problem. And I said, I got a bird. Because I'd heard in the previous brace that I think both dogs went birdless. So I was happy to have my bird. I trusted Doc. Again, it was kind of a decision. Normally you try to avoid back course birds, but just knowing
they can help you. So different than the back course honoring situations. If you find a back course bird, you have your bird for the event.
You're now eligible.
You can get those callback setups. But at the same time, there's going to be birds in the bird field. Ideally, you'll find them there. The perfect run is 1 back through a retrieve and 1 bird pointed and retrieved. Like that is the best case scenario from a lack of exposure to
risk.
Yeah.
So we handled the rest of the back course, no problem. Got into the bird field, and we didn't find a bird in the bird field. So our brace mate did. I went to the exact same spot, exact same strip where Hazel found 2, and I found none.
That's also, again, if you run multiple dogs, you do have typically a leg up. The bird planters usually are people of habit, and they'll go put 1 in this little grass clump and 1 in that little grass clump, and you got an idea of where to go look. So,
and we looked there, and he, got birdie, but didn't come up with any birds. So now we're back to eligible because of our back course bird. And he, I think they had me, I did tell them that I wanted to retrieve first. So, we put his bird down. This is Doc, my utility prize one, my little rock star dude. Went in, looked back at him right before I flushed the bird. Looked great. Flushed the bird. They shot. I turn around to see what he's doing, and he's going by me. So had to stop him. And, he did not get to do his honor because he was no longer eligible to do a callback for an honor. That's how Doc ended his first one, was just one bird flying in the back course.
Break that down again. Just, I know there's going to be some people that have never been to these events or seen this.
Yeah.
You do, as the handler, have to flush your own bird, and then you carry a gun in the master level, and you have to point your gun and swing on the bird. So you put your back to the dog completely, which is what they want, so that you're not intimidated, staring over your dog going, "Don't you move." They want you to be realistic-esque and
you're
take
supposed
away
to be
that
hunting,
pressure.
so
you're
you don't
killing
hunt
the bird
by
over
staring
the dog.
at your dog.
Yep.
So,
which I've only done one time in an event and gotten a lot of trouble for it. So
yeah.
So
that was our first day. So generally you have some time, especially if you're running masters. They tend to get done before, not always, but they tend to get done before the rest of the tests. Yeah. So in this case, I drove over that morning. So I went, checked into my hotel, got all that stuff unloaded, and then we went back, and the dogs went for a run, fed them, let them poop, pee, and also just handled them a little bit. Just, found an open area and said, "Hey, just listen. You're going to handle around here. You're going to do all these things." It was good for East. East sat in the box all day and listened to a whole hunt test. So he was happy to get out and
absolutely
get a little bit of the,
and it's good
run.
If you can find an area to, just tighten up some obedience types of things, remind them, "Hey, this is a new zone.
You still have to come when I call you here."
Yes. So just
still have to heal
some basics and kind of get some jitters out rather than just sit and stale for a full day. So,
yeah. And they've been in the box all day. I mean, Hazel and Doc got to run, but like I said, East has been in the box all day. So
absolutely.
And then the next morning, Hazel was the only one to run in the morning. So she got in the morning.
Yep.
I was the first brace in a field I had not run in. So it's all brand. It was the side that Hazel didn't get in on the day before. So it was all new, and they ran juniors last in that field. So I was ready for a good time.
What that means is there's going to be a lot of residual birds available. So there is no, hopefully we find one and get out of here. It's hopefully we can stay under 6 or 7 kind of deal.
It's the first brace in master on the second day when they run juniors last is going to be a good time. Or not. So ran her 2 back course finds. I didn't know this back course at all, and they were not finds that I would have expected them to be, where I would have expected finds to be.
Sure.
So but she did have 2 back course finds that I did not want. I knew my bird field was going to be interesting, but she handled them fine. Got into the bird field. Her very first point in the bird field was a covey of 3. Asked the gunner, just make sure you please only shoot 1. And
on average, they're singles, but when you've got the extra birds, they covey up like quail do. And coveys tend to be more difficult depending on.
We have a secret weapon though. We run them on coveys for 4 months. So, but she handled it. The gunners the gunner did not hit. We were separated. And we thought, so there is 2 gunners. If the brace mates are together, like there's an honoring situation in the field, then I would have had both gunners with me, but in this case, the other handler did not have a bird. So I was actually trying to go to an area where I thought I would not find a bird because I had 2 finds. So we were separated. So I only had the 1 gunner, and he did not hit a bird. So I heeled her away from that, cast her off. We made it, 40 yards, and she went back on point to a perfect little knot, little covied up 6-7 birds all together. So found that one, said the same thing. Please only shoot 1. The first covey ran.
And the reason please only shoot 1 is a thing is if they kill multiple, you have to retrieve multiple. So when there's multiple gunners and a small little group gets up, there have been times, I believe the most that I've ever had were 3 dead birds. And you have to pick up all 3 of them in order to be to complete the task.
They shot the bird.
If you don't, you fail. I mean, that's the long and short of it. So we just remind folks hey, we only need 1 dead.
And I don't know these gunners. I don't know if they've run the test. I don't know. Just a bird hunter, and he's like covey, bam, bam. I don't know. So I just want to reiterate, please only shoot 1 bird.
Yep.
So that covey didn't run. It actually flushed, except for 1 bird that flew about 10 feet, like 90 degrees. Yeah. Landed right next to the rest of the covey, flew. Healed her away from that. Again, I'm like, get out of birds. So I'm in the very back of the bird field, like against an open edge.
Hiding.
There's nothing back here. Giving her water, like everything I can do. I release her from giving water. She goes on point, and there's another bird. It's also missed. So,
and this is not picking on the gunners at the event. It's a lot going on. There's people. There's a gallery, meaning more people. There's the other gunners. There's the other brace mates. There's a lot of times safety zones. Like we can't shoot that direction because there's a house, and any number of things that, in order to be safe, they have to be paying attention to. Not to mention, these dogs are supposed to be steady, but they also have to be aware that the dogs may not be steady. So you kind of have a lot
quail
to think
don't
about.
Get that high off the ground usually. So
they don't. So there's a lot of pieces moving there for them to be able to think about and do. And if they aren't professional dog trainers and handlers and spend a lot of time shooting in situations like this, it can be nerve-wracking. It can be overwhelming. You get in your own head, you start missing, whatever. But
they are also volunteers.
So you have to be understanding of the situation. And though it can be frustrating, it's like, now we've handled all of these things clean. And had I just gotten one dead bird out of all the birds she found, I wouldn't need a callback for a retrieve.
Yeah.
Which means you basically have to point another bird, handle another bird, get another bird shot, and so on. So it adds more to the risk of not passing category. Now, the last piece is, from a training standpoint, that is something, and some of you may hear this and joke and laugh a little bit, but like, we don't not kill very many birds. And I think that that's a pretty standard thought process or understanding. When you go and you're training your dog and you're prepping for these events, you kill the birds because then that completed the sequence and you got your money's worth out of the training and whatever else. And it gets overlooked that missed birds that fly off and you go, dang it, are just as beneficial in the training process for multiple reasons. One, that delayed chase scenario, being able to go, I see that one, it flew 40 yards over there and set down, but it wasn't killed.
Or 10 feet to my left. Same thing.
If it's a non-productive bird, like you can't catch it, you're chasing it around, your dog has to stand through all of these things. So you eventually say, hey, we can't do anything with this one because I can't catch it. I'm trying and it's not flying. So we got to move on. You have to be able to say, heel, come with me, leave that scenario and let's move on. And it's hard if you don't train for it.
Yep. And I think too, any dog that sees every bird dropped in front of them, it's just a change that they may not understand. All of a sudden now 3 birds in a row, or for in Hazel's case, a bunch of birds, but 5 points in a row. She's pointed 5 times and not had a single bird shot for her. That can also, having never experienced that, can also just be a new situation a dog's not used to being in, and it can kind of come undone.
Kind of spikes like a level of frustration in the dog. Like I just want to go get one.
Like, what do you mean I can't go get this bird? I always get my retrieves.
Correct.
So
we will do entire days of not retrieving. So we just kill another one and walk over there and pick it up, or have the brace mate pick it up.
Which is a whole nother level of.
It is, but it's a thing. So we've got to work for it. We got to train for it.
And killing them and picking them up is training above the expectation, because when they're missed, they fly off. Mm-hmm. So if you shoot them and then pick them up, that's how we get above the expectation of what can happen in the test, to then hope that everything handles well. Because if they do everything perfectly in training, like we go pick the bird up, in the test, it's just missed. So it's a little bit, I won't want to say easier, but it's a situation that they understand. I'm not getting that bird at all. Like there's zero chance I'm getting that bird. I know it didn't fall. They learn the difference, and you can see them act differently, and they go, okay, heal me off. I'm ready. That's when we know they're ready for that.
That was the last bird in her run. So she gets a callback for an honor and a retrieve.
Yep. So, they didn't even ask me. They just set up my brace mate to do the retrieve first. So Hazel was going to honor first. Came in, absolutely. She honors great. She honored no problem at all. She ended up standing there, just no problem. That was not a thing at all. She stood there, sweet. She went in. They moved the bird.
Did they do them in the back course there? Or they do them after the fact.
They did them in the bird field. So that's something I think has changed a lot. I haven't done. I gone and put the dogs in the truck and got them back out to do them at the end of the run. I haven't done that at all.
Yeah, again, what we're talking about is they used to push callbacks to the very end of the event, basically, or each level of the event. So all the master callbacks are at the end of master braces. And I feel like they felt initially like that kept things moving faster. Mm-hmm. But you have to go set your dog in the truck, pull them out cold, and then bring them in and say, now do this in this weird set-up-y type situation. What they've moved more to, and it's always been an option, and I think that they're realizing now that this is even more efficient.
Especially with doubles. You don't have
to go find people and get stuff set up.
Or delay the other test because I can't go anywhere. I got to do my callback. I can't come over there and run.
So they just do them. The event is over. You get your callback right there, which makes the most sense. They'll put birds out. And so now she gets to come in and point one.
Yep. So they moved it to the other side of a strip. So she honored on one side. She pointed her bird on another side. So
that's
it was
good.
Different.
Yeah, that's good.
So she came in, she pointed her bird. It flew the exact wrong way because they always do. It landed in a tree at 40 feet from us. They shot it out of the tree. It was a whole thing. I was like, all right. And she handled it all. She just pivoted to mark because it flew 90 degrees away. It fell out of the tree, sent her for the retrieve. Not that great for my brace mate. It was pretty close to my brace mate, but, and she went, picked it up, retrieved a hand. Pass.
Boom.
Yes.
All right. So, then we move on to the afternoon and each of the dogs got to run.
Yep. Everybody was going to run. There was 3 braces. I was in all 3, which is always fun.
Get a dog, run and get the next one, run and get a dog, get the next one.
Especially
people, this is the other, then they want to keep things moving there. Can we get your dog and have them ready? And I'm like, nah, it's kind of a game face type of thing. Yeah. I want them to understand from the second maybe it plays too much into it, but all of these things that I've put into my head of how I handle dogs in the events, they do really well. So yeah, keep doing them.
And it's having the I don't want not the trying to think of the right word. So when we get them out of the truck the same way every time, we put them on the leash the same way every time. There are rules and these are all the rules and you do all of these things and it puts them in the right mindset, the right frame of mind to understand that all of the rules apply.
Dogs are really good at sequences and
situations and
they get it.
They get it, especially when you've conditioned it repeatedly all the time. So, nobody's going to get the dogs out. I'll get the dogs out. I have a method. I have a way that I do it, a way I run. We don't talk about brace collars, but I run brace collars all the time. Mostly so I can help see the dog, but I put that on.
A brace collar is just a wide, a flashy color. Usually they're yellow and like a blaze orange type color. And if you have 2 dogs that look very similar, which can happen at events.
2 white pointers.
Yeah, which is more where those come from is field trials. All of the dogs are basically, they look the same. They're pretty much all white running around out there. Well, one's got a bright orange collar on and one has a bright yellow collar on. So now we know which collar is which. And so from a habit standpoint, we just put flash collars on every single dog when we run them. And if someone happens, which most of the time people do not, but if someone happens to have also brought a flash collar, we just make sure they're opposite colors, whatever.
Yeah. And so that's just part of putting it on. It also does help to be able to see the dog. It helps quite a bit. So, Hazel got all messed up because they added dogs and the running order completely changed. It went east dock Hazel.
Okay.
So it was going to be east first run. So we go down and kick him off and he is the goofiest boy in the world and can't really control his legs very well. And I don't know that has anything to do with his neck or not, but
I think it does 100%. So for those that don't know, and we'll talk more about this from a true story. I think we've talked about it in lives and different things. East broke his neck as a young dog. He biffed it coming over a bigger washout in the field just out here. And he went I was there, watched it. He's flopping around. And it took a long time for him to recover. And now he has just a smidgen of an odd gait. And but
it also matches his personality a little bit.
It does.
So it fits.
Yeah.
But he's
a hell of a bird dog.
Yeah, no, he's a very nice dog. Very nice dog. So kicked off, same bird field from the day before, or same back course in bird field from the day before.
Got it.
That I had run in. So I knew this one, and I knew
Your little
all
1
the
acre
things.
field.
Yep, I knew it was going to all happen. And East ended up having to back. Was not my intention, but he's very, very good at it. He was running with a Vizsla. So ends up with a really nice honor in the back course. I go, sweet, there's our back course bird. I don't have a bird, but this is the first run of master. I know that when we kicked off, the bird planters were just leaving. So it's not like the bird field was planted 4 hours ago. And so I have a pretty good shot that I'm going to find birds. Like, these are things that you try to pay attention to just, getting down to nitty gritty, but these details matter. I knew the birds were going to be fresher than they had been the day before as well. So I wasn't as worried about pushing him to try to find a bird. I would rather keep him safe. So he does an honor. I'm like, sweet, there's our bird. We continue the loop to the 1 acre field. Racemate goes on point again. East honors again, much closer to the other dog. But I was like, there's only supposed to be one.
2 things that help are time and distance. So if the honoring happens a long ways away, it's easier to help them on average. If they can see everything clearly and they're a good distance away. If they are really close and things are happening right in front, it makes it harder. It's
more
just
temptation.
Yeah.
So he ended up like 5 or 6 feet away from the dog. Yeah. Handler goes in.
Take a deep breath as you walk into that one.
Yep. I go and stand next to him. Handler goes in, flushes his bird, and his dog goes.
Oof.
And
it's my favorite, honestly. I love finishing braces by myself.
So East didn't even take a step. He was just stood there, and then
he's like, oh gosh, that dog's about to get in a lot of trouble.
He looked over at the other handler and looked at the dog and looked at the other handler. And
are you going to do anything?
I just heeled him out, and I heeled him a good distance. We want to get out of this little 1 acre field because clearly there's more than one bird in it now.
Yeah, you can take advantage of some of those things a little bit without being, this ultimately is playing a game. So try and take the advantages where you can. I can just walk you 5 paces or no paces and send you on. Like, I can do that. You dog in this situation, having the mindset to try and go to what just happened is drastically higher. And then you have to handle them. And as you start handling, you lose handle, the more you have to ask them to do
effects.
things. Yeah. So it's, I refer to it as you get a jar of marbles, and every time you talk to them, you have to take one of your marbles and throw it away. Now, every jar is different, and the number of marbles in the jar is different for every dog based on how cooperative or not they are. Some dogs I've gone to test, they get 1 marble, I think. And so you're kind of on edge. But that being said, I think East has a decent number of marbles.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Taking them away from the poor situation that just happened as far as you can reasonably is a much better setup.
And we're on day 2. There's just more chances for birds, and we were right next to some woods. So let's just get out of here.
Yep.
So went through, and I went, well, sorry, my bracemate's gone, but I know where the birds are in the bird field, the same bird planters. So went in, found his bird. We got a bird killed for him in his bird field. We found it, shot it, no problem, which I would much rather prefer to do than a callback.
Correct. It's more natural.
Yeah.
It makes more sense.
And he was great. No problem at all. We went in, they ended up using his bracemate to be his, because he had a callback now for an honor. So they kept his bracemate there. We went in.
So here's the prime example of the dog broke and the situation happened. And though it was hectic and chaotic, did not retrieve anything. So his honors, multiple of them, didn't count for anything, which is why we talked about earlier, avoiding them if possible.
Right. Especially if you have a dog that just honors so naturally. Like sometimes
don't wear it out.
Right. And some people want, like, I know some people will want one, or like, well, I want them to see that they have a bird. I don't know how I feel about that. I've never run into a dog that like cared whether the other dog found a bird or not.
Yeah, I think that comes down more to a
training,
lack of training or lack of confidence in the situation.
Yeah.
Like I feel pretty confident Easton, like anything can happen, but I feel pretty confident Easton, Hazel, and even Doc for that matter are pretty good at backing.
Yeah. Easton, Hazel are, lights out.
But just the same as if they have to watch a bunch of birds fly away, they can get frustrated if they have to back and back and back and back and back. And then they can blow one off.
Right.
And just say,
Then you're done.
I want to go find my own bird. So,
yep. And young dogs can do that too. So it can just happen. So, but anyway, brought the brace mate in as I'm healing up so they can set this up. He goes on point. We're done. We're just doing a callback, but of course he goes on point. And and a little quail pops out, so I have to heal him away from that. And so then knowing that bird is there and we're not that far from where we're setting up for our honor. So heal him down and be ready to handle him. And it probably...
Had you casted him off?
No.
Okay. So you're just healing and
I'm just trying to go find somewhere to hide while they plant the bird for my brace mate.
Visual barriers are also good for this. So if the dog can see the other dog and the bird planters and all of the things happen and they watch a guy put a bird in the grass and then a dog run over and point it and they watch all of this happen and then you release them and say, now go back this dog. It's weird. So we have been drastically more successful even if you just have to turn around.
That's what I was doing. I was just trying to hide him with my body.
So the dog's now looking this way and there's just blank grass and whatever. And then all this stuff happens behind you and you turn around and they're like, oh, wow, where did this come from? Oh, I'll back it. So,
yeah. So just knowing I had to handle him a little more because he kept wanting to go back to that spot. So his back didn't look as good, but it was a little closer than he normally probably would have, but came in backed. And then his brace mate stood steady. Great. No problem at all.
And it's part of it.
Yeah. So retrieved bird. I will say East retrieve in his bird field was, he had another bird that was missed and then they killed a bird. And it was a very long retrieve on a crippled bird. And everybody was like, I don't know. And I'm looking at him like, he has it. Like, I saw the bird lose a wing and a leg, like, and East has it and sent him and right out, picked it up.
I would rather spend more time with him looking for this one than
do another one. Yeah. Like he's got it. It's fine. Cool. Like, okay. If you want, I do. So anyway, came in, honored, stood through it. His brace mate stood steady. We clipped up with a pass. So East is awesome. 1 for 1.
1 for 1. I love it.
And then Doc ran. So very similar back course. Ended up finding a bird in the back course. Couldn't, I didn't so much as push him into this one as I knew he was just going to find it. It's that little 1 acre patch. There's nothing we can do about it. And my brace mate even said, I'm just going to handle this into a back because I can't get out of here. Literally, I'm in the middle of the 1 acre field on point. There's nowhere for her to go. She said, just give me a minute. I'm just going to handle him into this. And this is going to be better than, and I think in her mind, the risk is I go in, flush this bird. Her dog's free running in the field. This bird lands. It was so tight that that was her decision. So I gave it her an extra second, came in, her dog honored, no problem.
It makes sense if it's really, really tight quarters.
Yeah. So he handled that. We made it through the second spot without finding a bird. Luckily, he did have another bird find that was not in that area, just happened to be adjacent from it. And he found a second bird in the back horse, but again, he handled it well. And then we went into the bird field and we did not have a find in the bird field.
Oof.
So again, we used our back horse find for him again.
Again, that just means he's qualified, but needs the callback for the retrieve.
Yep.
Which you can't just throw a bird for him. He's got a 0.1 and then they flush it and then you flush it and then they shoot it and the whole sequence. But
yep. So he did his retrieve first.
Okay.
So went in, pointed his bird, handled it, no problem at all. It was pretty easy. My brace mate needed an honor, so had an honoring brace mate, no problem at all there. Came in and honored right away. Both dogs stood through all that. So then heeled him back up the hill. And actually I used East bird for Doc. I forgot to say that. So he did find a bird. I forgot. At the very, very end, I had not found one. And
you knew where that non-performer
I went to that
was.
non-performer and got and because I was trying to get it done naturally.
Yeah.
And ended up not getting it done. So he gets a call back, does his retrieve. They start to run together after a little while.
For sure.
Come into honor. The bird, brace mate points, great looking little white short hair. Doc just nailed his back from way far away. It looked great. The bird is running around like crazy for the handler towards us out in the open.
Such a pain.
I'm just like, ugh. I can hear him starting to.
Yeah, he's making a little squeakers. That's a thunder does that too.
So I'm like, get this bird in the air. Gets the bird in the air. It flies like not our direction, but if you're looking at a clock, we're at 6 and it went 3:34. A very long shot, dropped the bird in a bunch of trees. And they're like, anybody have a dead bird? Nope. Well, just the handler said, she's got it. Sends the dog. The dog does not have it. So hunting and hunting.
They heard about East and wanted to do something cool too.
Hunting and hunting and looking and looking and looking and looking and moving the handler up. And Doc is like dancing and moving. And at one point he sat and then stood back up. And I'm like, just dude, like chill out.
Yeah.
And, finally I hear that a girl, I can tell the dog's got to and I'm looking at the judges like, and they're just like, telling me to wait. And I'm like, I want to just, sometimes when they've had to move the handler up and all of this stuff is going on, they go, that's enough. We're saying that you've satisfied the requirement. Go ahead, leash your dog up. We're going to deal with this retrieve and stuff. Yeah. The dog and the handler and everybody moved 30 yards away from the situation. Like Doc's just standing there like,
what are we even doing?
Why are we here? Yeah. He's not even really looking at the situation anymore. But I pointed at him like, can I go? And they're like, no, wait. So finally get the retrieve in and I did not ask. As soon as the bird hit the handler's hand, put the leash on Doc and we got a pass. Yeah, so it was a little more interesting than East Run was pretty straightforward. And that one was a little bit more fun.
Got it. So all in all, a good weekend. It's one of those things that people, they look at the events and they say, well, how often? And I always look at it from a standpoint of if we can go 50%, that is considered really good. Not like my goal is always to strive as you are. 100% would be optimal.
I hate not passing.
Yes.
It is not fun.
And when people have seen me at events, some of you that are listening probably have, you're like, man, that guy's kind of intense or something. I care a lot and I'm very serious and I'm very focused. And instantly, if I fail, my brain goes to what am I laying out for? How do I fix this for my next run? Or how do I fix this next week? Because we run again on next Saturday
or tomorrow or in 3 hours.
So it's just the wheels are turning on how do we help handle. I start overthinking what I did. Could I have done something differently? Yep. Because it's not just judging the dog. You are a team and you can do a lot to help or hurt your dog in the field. So
a lot.
If you get 50%, that's doing really good. And this weekend, that's 3 for 6, not 50% on the dogs, but overall, you run a bunch of dogs, 3 for 6. That's not bad.
Right.
So what do we have? What do we have as far as a training plan moving forward? What are your goals based on what happened and what didn't happen?
So the main things are I'm handling the dogs to get closer to birds. So we had a few instances where dogs ended up very close to birds and that created, so handling them so they're pointing very close, to be clear. So I want them almost looking at the bird. Like I'm going to try to handle them in that way. That was an issue with Hazel. I also specifically was pushing birds over the top of the dogs in training so far this week, just to tighten down movement, stop moving. Like, I don't want you to move. I don't care if the bird flies over your head. Stand still. Don't move.
Yeah. When you get in the event, your goal is to make things straightforward. I want this bird to flush basically straight-ish away with a clear view for the dog so that you can be shot and drop in the 15 to 20 yard mark and be an easy, straightforward retrieve. All of these pieces, that would be optimal. It never happens that way. As soon as you think I'm going to push it this way, it goes that way and vice versa. So in training, trying to push it into those bad situations that happen where the birds fly at the dogs or around the dogs or behind the dogs, so that they're better prepared for it.
And then I balanced out shooting them very quick. So having them drop right there. So not only did it go behind you, but it's also 20 feet behind you.
And missing a leg and a wing.
Yep. And I also did, sometimes. And I also did some longer shots. So it not only did it go behind you, but now it's been a minute and it's a far mark, which can sometimes, especially for dogs more like East, that's more of a temptation. I know where it is. I know it's far. I want to go get it. Whereas when he knows the bird's right behind him, he's like, it's right there. I'll just stand here and I can go pick it up. It's easy. Yeah. So just kind of played with that a little bit. Specifically, I think they need to get off of the property. It's pretty easy to be steady where you were trained your entire life. So I specifically have a plan to meet up with some other people that are running master, and we are going to do a bunch of training. It's hard to recreate the test environment, the nerves, the trucks, the four-wheelers, the people,
even when we've tried, it doesn't
really work. But as close as you can get is loading the dogs up, driving 3.5 hours to where there's 3 or 4 other people all training together, and try to recreate those situations as best as possible, to continue to try to get them into the environment where I can handle them, but it's similar enough that they understand the correlation. So that's the 2 main things that we're doing with them. Shock is going to continue to work on backing. We didn't touch much on her, but Shock.
Yeah, she just didn't run this last week.
Right. So. But her weakness would be honoring. Specifically, she does better in setups than she does when she finds them on her own. So with her specifically, she's working on just when purposely running her with brace mates that and handling her in a way that she finds them more separated from handlers so that doesn't look like as much of a setup. So
got it. And then when you get to test day, utilize the setups.
Yep.
Try and avoid
that.
The natural. So it comes down to like sometimes people look at this too and go, well, if the dog can't do it, or they paint some picture, there is no such thing as a perfect dog.
Right.
And all of these dogs can do all of the things in reasonable environments or hunting environments. They back, they work together, they track, they run, they do all of these pieces. But when you say you have to do all of these things flawlessly without me helping you at all, it changes stuff.
And we didn't touch on it, but no e-collars. Like we don't have collars on.
This is another thing. So none of the events you can use collars. So it takes it to a whole new level of you're doing this because you want to, and you know that you should, not because I'm making any of this happen through any form of correction.
Yeah. And so, putting them in situations, my main training focus is I want everything that they do in the field while I'm training to be harder than the test.
Yeah.
I want it to be as hard as I can possibly make it. I want the birds walking 5 feet from their face after they pointed them while I'm 30 yards away. Like I want them to give them every opportunity I don't want to push them purposely to make an unfair mistake, but I want the situations to be hard. They have to be hard situations in order for them to learn at this point. These are very well trained. I mean, they got passes. We're having to work hard to set them up to make sure that we can get value out of the training. If I just went out and put 3 birds down and ran them in solo, no brace mate, anything, and just killed birds over them, they just stand there and it wouldn't be of any value.
Yeah. And then at the end, pulling them cold and setting up callbacks.
Yep.
Because
I don't know
back first and then point a bird in the exact same location. And there's something different about a bird that's been out and sitting there for 10 to 20 minutes, or a bird that's been there
even walked into its own bush.
Yes.
So maybe it didn't get planted in that spot. It's walked over there.
Versus we just dizzied this and set it here. Now, 30 seconds later, we need your dog to come point it. I don't know the exact science. I'm not a dog and know how to know what amount of smell is, but from watching dogs, there's less smell.
They know something. They know. There's either less scent or they can.
I gotta believe that it is less residual available scent for them to detect, which is why they have to get closer to them.
Yeah.
In order to be able to find them. That's typically what happens in those callback events, especially when they have to back first. And the bird is in the exact same spot they want to be. They want to go see. Is there still a bird right there where I saw that dog? Yep, there is. And now you are looking at it. And it poses a very difficult situation. So, and
then also setting up. So I've done both callbacks. I haven't actually done it yet this week, but I will. But I did do right away callbacks, like go stand over here, and then we're gonna go work this bird. And then I will set up this week yet still the full on, like you're gonna go run a field, you're gonna sit in the truck for an hour, and I'm gonna get you out, and you're gonna go down here and do cold callbacks. So. Yeah. Because I don't know how the tests are going to be, so I have to prepare for
everything.
Yeah,
everything. Perfect. So we've got a training plan. We've got kind of a recap, and I mean, all in all, it sounds like a pretty reasonable event. It's kind of what happens. You got some dogs that get to find 1 or 2 birds, and you got some dogs that find 22 birds, and it's hard. It's not easy. So, the next event, what we're preparing for, I don't know exactly when this will go out, but the next event is April 19th and 20th. So it's a week and a half from now. And it is in Illinois. So if there are people that would like to go see Standing Stone Dogs or meet Charles, he will be there at the Vizsla, Illinois Vizsla Club and
Wine Runner Club. It's at Des Plaines, which is where almost all of the Des Plaines wildlife area.
Des Plaines Wildlife Area, and that's close to Chicago?
Yep, south of Chicago.
South of Chicago. All right. So anybody in the area that is interested, hopefully we get this out by then. It shouldn't be a problem. And you'll have the opportunity to go see if you'd like to an event, or if you're just running, stop by and say hi. So you got anything else?
Nope. I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Good.
It's those boys, man. They AKC can be a little frustrating, there's so many situations and so many things that can happen. And those boys put a big smile on my face when we were done. They looked really good.
That's awesome. And so who all is going to make it in for that weekend?
It's going to come down to, so right now, as far as I understand, all 4 of my master dogs are in. So Shock, Hazel, Doc, and East.
That'll be a busy weekend.
And then Splash should be out of heat.
She's in, or just a matter if she's done in heat.
And then Hazel is on the watch list. On Sunday, she was marking like a boy dog.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty good sign that she may not make this trip, which she needs 2 passes. So I would really like her to make this trip. But
absolutely.
Well, again, if she comes in, then reach
out. If
not,
it's a month, and
then we're basically
out of events. Yeah, it's tough. That's why the girls take a little longer to get done.
She did get a utility prize, so we at least got that going for us this year.
I like it.
Sweet.
Thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to try and do these a little bit more often, talk through actual testing scenarios and training events. If you are a fan and would like to support, there's a couple different ways that you can do that. Patreon.com/StandingStoneKennels. You can join there and get help, or we are set up now on YouTube and we'll be adding additional tiers. We have just a Team Standing Stone tier for memberships on YouTube, which is just $5. And what that is to bridge the gap in that you can play the bingo on our live nights and things like that and don't have to leave YouTube. So all of that being said, also look at the sponsors of everything Standing Stone, Eukanuba, DT Systems, and Standing Stone Supply. Thanks everybody for watching. The guy with the pink gun.
I'm Charles.
You are Charles, the dog trainer, with no additional tags.
Cat, the dog trainer.
Oh, Charles. You're Charles. Thanks for joining me, buddy, and talking through this. We'll see y'all in the next one.
See ya.